Hello, everyone. I am back and I'm in my own place this week, so hopefully we won't have the internet interruptions that I did last week. I would like to say thank you to Robert for your, I would like to call it a love donation super sticker. And let's see who else we have on here. I think I saw Ruth. Yes. Hi, Ruth. Happy to have you here. And I'm excited. I'm going to be a guest on Ruth's show later tonight at 8 o'clock. Today I was thinking, oh, I guess it's like Vegas, you do 2 shows a night. So anyway, I have a very special guest. I have known Naviae for so many years. We were just talking, and it feels like a lifetime ago. I met her when I was living in Florida, and I was going through a challenging time. And Naviae, I went to her for a reading, and she guided me through so much and helped me in so many ways. She's a clairvoyant medium. She does 13 sign astrology. It tunes into the actual sky, which I really am interested in learning about. And she's a Mayan dream spell astrologer. And that's just to touch on a few things. She has many gifts and talents, and I'm very excited to have her here, Naviae Allora. All the way from Hawaii. Aloha. Are you there, Naviae? Aloha.
Oh, yeah. Hi. Yeah, I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, well, here I am. Now you hear.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
It's nice to see you. I'm good. I'm a little warm because it's really humid.
What is the temperature there in Hawaii right now?
It usually hovers around 80, 82 this time of year, but it's extremely humid today for some reason. It's usually not so humid.
But the beauty is worth it.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Yeah. You've been there quite some time now.
Yeah, we call it our island anniversary.
Yeah,
we just had
nice.
Our island anniversary. I think it was 8 years in late July.
Yeah, that makes sense because I've been out of Florida, I think 7 years, and you had left before I left Florida. So that's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
give us a little history about you, because I know that there's like ancestral line with what you do, and just start wherever you want and share a little bit so that the listeners can know more.
Okay. Well, this is funny because I actually had somewhat of like a long-time acquaintance over last night for just like poo-poos and chat. We call it talk story here. And he was asking me about my mediumship and how that all started. So I just told the story last night, so it's really fresh. So he asked me my first memories of mediumship. So it started with a near-death experience when I was 4. I'm an only child, and my folks had put in a pool when I was about 3.5, 4. And the summer that I turned 4 was the first year that we had the pool, and no one like taught me how to swim, which is a little bit sus. They relied upon like a little like life jacket, 1970 style, like a foam bubble that I would put on my lap belt.
Yeah.
And I would just jump in and out. And one summer day, I was swimming. My mom was in the pool, and I had to use the restroom, and I jumped out and used the restroom, and then jumped back in and forgot to take my life jacket thing on again. And I started to drown, and I left my body, and I saw myself flailing in the pool. I saw my mother just standing there watching, which is a whole other thing to unpack. And I had what some folks call the great voice, or your guardian angel, or high self, or whatever you want to call it, speak to me. And it said, she's not going to save you. You have to save yourself. And it gave me like this little download of like doggy paddle. And I like came back in my body and got to the side of the pool and like threw up a bunch of water, and then shortly after that, I had another experience where I was, little kids jump on their bed, and I jumped on my bed and I missed, and it was actually this year, I came crashing down on the side of my dresser and cut my ear off and had head wound and stuff. And I remember the paramedics came, or the ambulance folks, and I was in a straitjacket because they didn't want me to like touch my head or make it worse, I guess. And plus I was probably hysterical. But I remember leaving my body again and I can still see that sort of like yellowy oilcloth of the straitjacket. I can still feel what it feels like to be in it. I can still see like the matted hair and blood against I remember all of that. And that really, those two things kicked in some latent ancestral abilities. And I started to dream of people in my family that were going to die, and then would die. I would get like dates. It was really freaky. And started to see the spirits that lived in my house. I think some of them were maybe like strong memories that weren't actually like maybe just like soul fragments, not actual like specters or ghosts, but I was seeing them. I was getting like whispers at night. Like I called them whispers. It would feel like people touching my face and calling my name. And I'd see people like at the foot of my bed at night, and all that sort of stuff started happening around that time, immediately after those traumatic things. So that sort of kicked it in, and throughout childhood that was happening. And despite the like evidential proof, a lot of people didn't believe me or were skeptical of it. And at one point I remember talking to my parents about like a scary dream of a relative that was going to die, because I would see them in a box. That's how I would like walk down like a dark hallway, and then they'd be in a box, and I'd be like, so and so's going to die, I saw him in a box, and no one wanted to hear that. I was like this like spooky little kid, like, mommy, I had a dream, so and so was in a box, like, I can just imagine my parents being like, how did we get this one? But jumping around a bit, years later, my father cut off contact with his family after his mom died, which was really like a heart loss for me. And years later, we reconnected when I was like about like 5-6 years old. That happened. And then when I was maybe about 17, 18, his nieces got back in touch with us, and they were like, can we please like bury the hatchet? Like we weren't even a part of whatever falling out, And then when they're my first cousins, his nieces, when they came, one of them was like, pulled me aside, and she was like, for sure you have the site, like, and like wanted to talk. And I was like, what? She's like, we're all like this, and I'm like, we are, because I've been not with them, and we walked around my parents' house, and she's like, the hall closet, your closet, the basement, the staircase. I'm like, yeah, I see them there. She's like, I know you do, So I had already been like, someone had given me a tarot deck at 18, and I would go and kind of play with my cousin. Her name was Diane. And when I first went to her house, because now I'm like driving on my own, I can, be more free at that age, like 17. She showed up at her front door with like a headband that she had made of like crystals in it. This is like 1991, so like it wasn't like new age, and tarot stuff was around, but it's not like on there wasn't even social media or internet at that time, really, nothing. So
and everybody sells those bands with the crystals in them all over the events I do. So it wasn't like that.
No, I mean, she hand sewed it. Like that was her vision to do. So I had a lot of fun getting to know her. And I found out that my auntie Helen, who my birth middle name is Ellen, and I have this connection to that name, and her my my auntie Helen, she was the medium, and she would do seances on the new moon with Diane. And yeah, so I found out that my father's mother had mediumship and clairvoyance ability, and it was passed down through the female line in my family. And I think part of why he kept me from them was because he was very Catholic and religious, and saw these abilities waking up and didn't want me mingling with them. But like it happened, you know,
Yeah.
I am who I am, and there's no stopping it
Right.
really. And yeah, I mean, he would do a lot of things to like make me focus on Jesus instead of what was happening. Like his
Right.
strategy was just deny it and pray to Jesus, and it's not real, or it will go away, kind of thing, which
Yeah.
none of that worked.
And actually, we're blessed with those gifts, you know. And when I had a Catholic priest talk to me one time about, and I said, you know, if you look all over the Bible, people have visions, they get messages,
Yeah.
and he said to me, well, they're special people, and I was like, well, what are you saying? I'm not special. We're all special, you know.
Yeah.
So you know
That was
that floors me with that heavy Christianity. You know, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I personally believe like in a religion of one, like a personal religion, like everyone has their
Right.
own unique soul link or connection or spirit connection
I
to
agree.
creator creation. And like
Hmm.
my experience is different than your experience, and like I'm not gonna like say you follow my high self and their information, you follow your own high self. Like we
Right.
can
Right.
be a light for each other, but ultimately it's like the Bible and other religious texts are full of other people's experience with their God self, and we're all like, oh, okay, well, this person wrote it in a book, so we must follow it. No, I mean
Yeah.
it could be
No.
inspirational, but it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be like the law.
So I was raised Catholic, and when I was in Catholic high school, I used to say, you know, it's spirituality and it's personal. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just very personal, and I always bucked the system. You know, I was in a art class with Sister Carol J, and we are doing these mosaics, cutting pieces out of the magazine, and I put a dark-skinned baby Jesus in the manger, and she walks over and she's looking at me, and I said, "Hey, where he's from, he would most likely be that color.
Be
Where does
brown,
it ever
yeah.
say that?" Yeah, I know. So she
It's the
shook her
Middle
head and
East.
walked away. You know, it's like, come on, because I knew from
Yeah,
what I experienced as a young child, you know, seeing and knowing people that, you know, of course, my family call my imaginary friends, that it it was different for me. So I knew that it was very personal, and I didn't buy into all their crap anyway. But it did give me a somewhat foundation, I guess. I think I went toward the other way.
yeah. I
Yeah,
tried. I mean, I was 12 years at Catholic school also, so I did the novenas, and I would have an altar at my bed. I was always tuned into spirit. I just was looking for home,
right.
and never felt it in Catholicism, but I gave it like the college try or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I was lucky because my parents let me experience different religions. You know, I had Methodist friends, but the dogma religions, not spirituality. I didn't really step into all of that until openly until I moved to Florida. That was my gateway really. And then that's
Yeah,
when I started to open up to the gifts again because I blocked them for so many years. So because I didn't know what it was, and there was like you know, there's no one to really talk to, and when you say something, they think you're crazy, and I didn't want to end up in a nut house, so I kept it
yeah.
to myself. So I would like you to talk a little bit about the actual sky, because I'm very much into astrology, and I just recently realized that there are so many different types of astrology. And
Hmm.
when we spoke briefly, it was a couple of years ago, about the actual sky astrology, it made so much sense to me because we're always shifting and moving. So when you talked about what the tropical sky astrology was taken from to what really is presently happening, it makes sense. So
Yeah.
how did you get there and what's it about?
I just also have to say as a disclaimer, it's a huge buzzkill. A lot of a lot of spiritual people, you know, in this realm are very attached to their tropical astrology, me included. And
Mhm.
like I was doing college courses in astrology in high school, like that, like community college stuff. I can tell you everyone's sun sign from my grammar school class. Like I remember, like I'm into it, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
during the pandemic, it was like 2020. I had reconnected with some ancestral stuff. It's a kind of a long story, and I was in communication with my father's father, who I had never known, and I was having really cool, like synchronistic experiences that were validating this is actually I'm talking to him. And I started to hear these words, look up at the sky. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, no, look up at the sky. So I started to like look at the sky at night, and then I got one of those star apps like that
Yeah.
match like what's going on, and you could just kind of like point your phone and it shows like in the actual time, you know, sun is in this constellation where it's matching up and stuff. And you know, I'm looking at a million different astrologers on Instagram or wherever, you know, and I'm like, oh yeah, the sun is in Cancer, that's what it says here, and then Instagram, okay, now it's in Gemini. Oh, wait a minute, wait, the sun is in Cancer. It's what the, you know, so and so astrologer on TikTok says. Okay, nope, sun is in the constellation of Gemini. What is going on? What is going on? And then I realized that the tropical astrology is based on what the sky was doing around 2000 years ago. And there were astrologers like Babylonian and, you know, probably earlier, that sort of like took a snapshot of what the sky was doing and placed all of the constellations on the ecliptic that, you know, that the sun travels through in a equal house 12 30 day house 30-degree equal part 12 equal parts around the zodiac. So it's like Aries has 30 days, Taurus has 30 days, and so forth. But in reality, the constellations are varying in size. Like Aries is really small and Virgo is really big and Cancer is really small, and you know, Pisces is huge. So it, if you want to go by what the actual, like how long the sun is in a place, or you know where it is, it's not lining up with tropical astrology. And that kind of made me like, ah, you know. So
Mind blowing.
yeah, because you know, I'm born in mid-July and I'm a Cancer, and that's it. Like, so I started to feel very disillusioned by it. Like, don't all these astrologers know that it's not lining up to the actual sky? You know, like,
Yeah.
so I had to sort of like redefine what is astrology. Well, in my mind, astrology is the effects of the celestial bodies on us on Earth. Like when Mercury is retrograde, things go haywire. You know,
Right.
when people are born in the sign of Leo, they have awesome hair. You know,
Like
like
here?
yeah. So Cancers are emotional and sensitive, and Virgos are really about cleaning and meticulous detail and la la la, right?
Yeah.
Well, some of the people that are, you know, tropical Virgos are still are still sidereal Virgos, because it is such a long, you know, span of time in the constellation. But a lot of it doesn't match anymore. It's 24 degrees off from the original, like when it was. My black cat wants in on the magic. Relax, baby boy.
I hear.
He's such a little
So Tiffany
attention hog.
Tiffany Tiffany just put in the comments that very few astrologers align with astronomy, and she meant tropic astrologers. They
Yeah.
don't align. And we got a couple of other people on. I would just want to acknowledge and say hi to Carolyn. She has a show on, I think, Thursday nights. And I think I saw Richard on here also. So I want to say hi, shout out, thanks for joining us. Yeah, so, and she read the sidereal astrology, I probably said that wrong, with 13 signs, not 12. That's where that 13 sign astrology that you talk about with the actual sky.
You were roboting towards part of it. I didn't hear everything you said. I'm sorry.
Okay. So Tiffany says that she resonates more with the 13 signs, not the 12 signs, which is what you resonate.
Yeah, there's
Hi,
a 13th. There's a 13th sign that, so the sun moves through 13 signs in the ecliptic now, and we don't even talk about it. There's like a whole chapter of our sun's orbit through the constellations that we don't even acknowledge. And I think we're doing ourselves a huge disservice. I'd love to tell you about what that sign is and why it's important.
So then let's do that.
Yeah, between Scorpio and Sagittarius, there's a 13th sign called Ophiuchus. And it's depicted as like a U with a squiggly line through it. But what it is a person holding a serpent. So it's right. So it's like, here we are, and we're so Scorpio, right, is kind of looked at as like, ruler of Pluto. It's the underworld. It's sex and death.
Could
and
you say that again? Could you kind of bleep out?
Okay. So Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and it's in modern times. I think it was Mars originally, but now it's, or like co-ruler. But anyway, so Pluto and Mars are like heavy energy. It's underworld, it's death, it's revenge, it's sex. It's like these underworld emotions that we want to repress or not acknowledge, right? And the animal scorpion has a stinger, and there's poison, right? It's a poisonous creature. And so you look at this like poison, right? And I mean, if you know Scorpios, they got a sting, right? There's like secrets, man. No one keeps a secret like a Scorpio. Take it to the grave, right? They want to know your secrets, but they ain't telling theirs. Like, that's the kind of my experience. And like, love them, witchy. Oh, wow, powerful. But there's that poison. So in the tropical zodiac, you have Sagittarius, like right after. It's like Scorpio, Sag. And Sagittarius is like, fire, mutable fire. It's like Jupiter, higher ideals, philosophy, expansion, travel, that sort of thing. It's like, but in the meantime, you have this hidden sign that no one is acknowledging, and it's the Ophiuchus, which is the serpent bearer. He's holding the serpent, and he is considered to be like the medicine bringer. So he takes the poison.
He commented that Ophiuchus is the true healer.
Yeah, he takes the medicine from Scorpio, transmutes it, alchemicalizes it into assimilable power, healing medicine, wisdom, assimilation, and then it's transmuted into all the cool stuff of Sag. But we're like skipping a thing. We're skipping a whole process by not incorporating the Ophiuchus into our zodiac. Right. And there's a lot of people that, like me included, that I thought I had Sag moon, and it's actually Ophiuchus moon. And that makes so much more sense. I thought I was a Cancer. I'm actually a Gemini, and here I am. Yep. Like learning about my true sidereal astrology chart has been a game changer for me, because like the tropical astrology kind of feels like a layer, almost an oppressive layer of like more ego stuff or
Yeah.
what's been superimposed on us. And then the true sidereal is like, oh, your actual soul blueprint of what was happening when you were, what was really happening in the sky when you were born.
Do you offer doing people's sidereal charts? Is that
Yeah.
one of the services? Yeah, and I think Tiffany has posted your link tree to go, and people can get in touch with you and do whatever. Because I think it's fascinating, and I'm gonna get in touch with you because I want to have my chart done, because I've had my tropical chart done, and some of it does make sense. It makes sense, but it, like you said, it's kind of surfaced feeling. It doesn't
Yeah.
really get into, I think, the core of who I am. But I do find it interesting because some of it, I mean, it does kind of make sense, but I don't think it's deep. I don't think it's as deep as we can go.
I know. It's a whole interesting shift. I'm still like kind of I don't know, like I've had some, like I used to have a Facebook group that I was moderator of and creator of, and I shut it down because I feel like a lot of people aren't ready to hear this. And I was getting a lot of like disgruntled comments. Like I had, and this is so interesting because there was like this group of Leo people, Leo women that were in my in this group, and all people that have been clients or friends or acquaintances. And when I posted the dates of like you think you're this, maybe you're that, and people are
Yeah.
like, there is no way I'm a Cancer. I am a Leo.
Yeah.
And the four people that took issue with it were Leos, tropical Leos.
Yeah.
And one of them has four of her own kids and like three or four stepkids. One of them is a midwife. Another one is a preschool teacher. And another one is a doula with like two or three kids of her own, maybe four kids of her own. So I was like, okay, hang on. I was like, so you're saying that you're not a Cancer and all of these like very like Cancerian careers and lifestyles, and they're like, wow. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just stating the obvious. Like, maybe take a deeper look. Like, I know you want to be a Leo, and like on some level you are, because I feel like I'm a Cancer on some level still. But like if we're going by what the sun was doing when you were born, it like you can't argue with that.
Yeah. So I might not be a Leo, huh?
When is your birthday?
August 14th. You want the year?
No, you are a Leo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're still a Leo.
Because everybody says that I got the lion's mane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hair don't lie.
Yeah. That's it. So, well, I think the first time you told me that, talked to me about the actual sky, I was kind of like, but then when I really dug into it and I was like, you know what, it makes sense. It really does make sense. But it, and we all, well, I don't know about everybody, but I grew up when it was like, check the newspaper for your horoscope for the day.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and there's so much more to it than that, and you see that now. Yeah, Robert, I said hi to him before, but he just joined us. And Richard, he said his birthday's September 11th, so I guess he wants to know what he falls under. And
he's a Leo.
you're a Leo. Join the cool kids.
How's your hair? You have to have a lion's mane to be a legitimate Leo.
Yeah, at least like thick and wavy, right? Yep. So I'm seeing what else is here. So, oh yeah. So you were talking about the poison from the Scorpio. Tiffany commented, and didn't we just hear these past 3 years how snake venom was being used to heal to heal things, and how interesting that is, because
Mm-hmm.
right, the and I always say that, well, and you know this because you're into all the herbs and the things like that. We have it all here. You know, we don't need the big pharma
Yeah.
stuff. You know, we were giving everything, and we're supposed to be here to take care, be the gardeners of the earth, not the takers of the earth. So we take care of the earth takes care of us.
Yeah.
And we've totally lost that. And you know, all of this stuff. Oh, everybody's chiming in now. We have wait, Robert. Oh, Robert, it was Richard before. Robert is November 26th.
Scorpio.
Scorpio, Robert. And Erica. Hi, Erica. Nice of you to join. She's September 4th.
Leo.
Okay. And Ruth is April 4th.
Oh, Pisces.
Pisces, Ruth. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. So if anyone that's listening would like to have their what is it called?
Sidereal.
Sidereal astrology chart done.
Yeah.
Get in touch with Naviae, because she's the one. She'll do it.
Yeah.
And oh, Erica said hi, hello. I love my Leos. That me too. My granddaughter, I do believe, is a Leo. She's July 27th. She's got hair.
She's a Cancer.
Oh no, she's not going to be happy about that. She's very.
The cutoff is August 6th for Cancer now.
Oh, okay.
But she might have like a rising that's Leo, or you know, a moon, or it might be something else prominent. You know,
she's got a
that's
Leo
the thing.
attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like we have to kind of think about what we've identified as these different traits. You know, it's a lot to process and to take in. It took me like a year to really like. I just put it all down at one point. It was just like,
and
you know.
And I got Elizabeth Stars, April 5th. She says, I am an Aries for sure, right?
No, April 5th is Pisces.
There you go, Elizabeth. We just knocked your Aries right out. So, you know, I think it's really fascinating. So, you do this Mayan dream spell?
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh my God, I love the Mayan stuff. So this is so interesting. When I was living in Chicago, I was taking a I did body work for many years, massage, and I'm a Reiki master since like the 90s. And so I was like doing this craniosacral course at Heartwood Institute in Northern California in 2002. And people were like asking me, what's your Mayan sign? And I'm like, what is that? You know, this is like, there was some internet, but it really wasn't so out there. And it was very basic at that time. And people were saying, oh, it's this like Mayan dream spell, you know. And they told me I was a red overtone moon, but I didn't know what that meant. And then about 7 or 8 months later, I ended up putting all my stuff in storage and went on kind of this like epic tour to festivals doing massage and body work and tarot readings and different things, and having these different experiences all over the country. And everywhere I went, people would talk about, like, to me, and like no one else was having these, but people were following me going, oh, do you know what your Mayan is? And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? So it's like synchronistically seeds were being planted, you know. This is kind of a really long story, but long story short, I ended up thinking I was going to go to Central America to like study with the Mayans. And I was making plans to do that, but then all these blocks were coming, and I'm like, maybe I'm not supposed to go there, but I'm supposed to learn about this Mayan astrology. I was just like surrendered to spirit, you know. And I was staying with these friends, and this one woman said, well, where would you go if you can go anywhere? And I said, Hawaii. And she said, then go to Hawaii. Why are you going to like Central America? And I was like, oh. So I just sort of put the feelers out, and then immediately had a place to stay. Someone was picking me up from the airport, like, I'm in Hawaii. And I was staying in this intentional community, And when I arrived, this like little tiny Quebecois woman comes up to me and she's like holding her water bottle and she's like, "Aloha, what is your name?" You know? And I'm like, and she's like, "What is your Mayan astrology?" And I said, "Red overtone moon, but I don't know what that means and I want to know." And she went, "Oh, I've been calling for you." I said, "What?" And she said, "I've been calling for you and now you're here and I can teach you." She was like calling for her student. And I literally like arrived, and it's like better part of 7 or 8 months every day we lived in this like community together, and she would like gong in the morning and I'd walk over and we'd have chai and talk, and she'd be like, "Today is a white resonant wizard and my friend so and so is a wizard. We're going to go see her." And we'd go see her friend that was the white wizard, and then she'd be like, "Feel her energy, feel the energy of the day." And so it was like
Yeah.
very immersed. There's 20 different tribes and there's 13 different tones, so there's 260 combinations, so it's kind of like complex, right?
Wow.
um
Yeah.
and a lot of numbers and math, and I'm actually autistic and have dyscalculia, so number, space, and time is a little bit of a disability for me. But with this stuff, man, I'm like rare. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're blah, 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 blah." Like it all, that's how I know it's like a past life thing, because it overrides my dyscalculia. Like I get
Yeah.
it. And so yeah, so I just really immersed with, her name was Fantasia Odus, and a lot of people all over the world have met her because she's been walking with this knowledge for a long time, and she's a world traveler. She's on
Wow.
the other side now, and but I learned from her, and it's like a whole other level of astrology. It's not even, I mean, it's astrology, but it's not based on the planets. It's based on the frequencies of the universe.
Wow. Wow. So I'm going to take a quick break to do that short commercial, and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Nave, Erica said, that sounds like a fun experience in Hawaii. Well, Erica, you weren't, I don't think you were listening when we first came on. Nave ended up moving to Hawaii, and that's where she presently lives. And I'm kind of jealous.
Aw, don't be jealous.
No, I can't leave the States because of my grandkids. I won't leave them. And yeah, it was kind of funny because my daughter-in-law said that, before they had kids, she said, "You scare me because you're going to go off to another country and we won't hear from you again." Because I was actually thinking about Costa Rica. And then she got pregnant, and I said, "Well, you don't have to worry about that now because I'm not leaving any grandbabies behind." So you're
Yeah,
right for a
it's so
while.
important to have
Yeah,
the next generation know their elders. And I don't have any kids, so like I
yeah.
feel like, I really wasn't called to being a mother, but I would have rocked being a Grammy,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
well, yeah,
know.
that I could have skipped the mother part. I hope my son's not listening. So
um,
speaking of Grammys, do you
yeah.
remember, probably not, it may have been like my first or second reading with you. You were in that shop in Dunedin, that small shop. I can't remember the name of it. And it was my grandmother came through, and it was so emotional for both of us because it connected like with your grandmother. So we were both
Mm,
like sitting there in tears. I'll never forget that because it was just like overwhelming because I feel a very strong connection to my grandmother. I always have, from when I was little. But I realized that her daughter, who I'm named after, who I look exactly like it's not even funny. She died when she was 13. And I almost feel like there's like a part of reincarnation there with
Mm.
her and me, because there's some kind of, and so I really understand, like when my grandmother looked at me, she saw her daughter, I'm sure, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where the connection was. And I also got this a few years ago that my grandmother had gifts but never spoke about them. So it wasn't like I just appeared out of nowhere. It was like with
Yeah,
you, there is a line of that.
there is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she never kind of called me out or made fun of me for imaginary friends or anything. She just, accepted everything that I said, and she was wonderful that way. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
So
this
go
this
ahead.
these gifts are latent in our bloodlines, and like, so I talked about my father's mother's side and his
Mhm.
sister and nieces, but my mother's grandmother who lived with us, she had three sisters, and they were all strangely telepathic, and she had claircognizance. So back in the 80s, when there was one landline and it was one phone in your kitchen, I'd be like eating my cereal in the morning, and she was 4'8" and took her time walking. She was little tiny bitty thing, and she'd like if she was gonna, be at this side of the house in 5 minutes, she had to like plan it. You know what I mean? So I'd be in the kitchen eating, and she'd be like on a mission walking to the end of the house, and I'd be like, Graham, what are you doing? She's like, JoJo's on the phone. And I'd say, what? Ring. And she'd pick up, Joe. And I'd be like, okay. It happened all the time where she'd be walking to the phone. I'm like, there's no one on the phone. And she'd ring, and it'd be her
Yeah,
sisters. So,
yeah.
and she would have precog dreams that were terrifying.
Oh, we
Yeah.
don't like the terrifying ones.
Yeah, but she was in the sidereal and tropical. She was a Scorpio, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was
But
her realm. It made a lot of sense.
there's some terrifying things that are occurring though that we all I mean it's like a few years ago I got some information I received about what's going on, and I got it, and I kind of held on to it because I wasn't quite sure where it was going, but then it was like, oh yeah, I get what you're talking about now. It's like, and it's all unfolding as I was receiving it a while ago, but I didn't make any kind of predictions because I really pretty much just came out of the psychic closet about 6 years ago. That's really when I revamped my website. I'm still Wellness Mary, even though I don't really concentrate on nutrition, but people knew me as that. And, I still, if it comes through that, I get stuff about people's diets or correcting this or correcting that, I share that, but I don't necessarily do a whole lot on nutrition. And I actually feel like in this world today, it's really hard to guide people to eat clean unless you're growing your own. Like you shared that story about that co-op that you volunteer at. And I
Hmm.
feel like all this that's happening is going to bring us
I
back
hope
to,
so.
yeah, that's the way we were intended to live.
I
So I really
know.
feel that, yeah, we should go back there. So you said you're not doing a whole lot, so you don't have any classes or anything going on right now?
No, 2023 has been kind of a surprise. I started planning a women's retreat in late August of last year, and I had a few like support folks that were helping me do that, and it was going to be in Florida, and it was going to be like an symbolic Bridget's holiday, like early February.
Mm-hmm.
Um, anyway, long story short, I had people flying in from like California and DC and other places, and it was going to be this like cool convergence of a group of women, and I was going to like lead and priestess this retreat. And the day after I got to Florida, I had got COVID, and we had to cancel everything, and it was sort of a nightmare. And
Yeah.
um so I'm still sort of like healing from that experience and taking a lot of time. Like I went to herbal medicine school too, so like I have that wellness background and did massage for
Yeah.
years and stuff. So like I know my body isn't where it needs to be, so I'm just sort of um not really putting a lot of energy out into promotion, or like I'm still doing readings for folks that contact me, but like my Etsy is down and my Patreon is down, and it's just sort of like word of mouth and the little radio shows and YouTube appearances when people ask me. I'm delighted to do it, but I'm not like searching for it, and
Right.
just letting this time sort of um a little bit of a slower pace for me right now.
Yeah. It's this year has been kind of wonky, I think, for a lot of people. And now all these planets are retrograde. I noticed that, even me, I'm just not feeling. So I started a cleanse. Oh man, in the first couple of days, I was like, yeah, I really needed this. So,
Yeah.
like today is like I'm like, yeah, okay, I got to wake up tomorrow because I got my show and I'm a guest on Ruth's show, so I got to be there. So I did
Hmm.
wake up feeling much better. So I'm on my way, and I'm doing an event this weekend in Delaware. But yeah, I'm on the road a lot, so that really gets tiring. I hope that you do that retreat in Florida, because I would really be interested in attending. I didn't even know about it.
Yeah,
But
it booked up like really quickly, and I didn't have to promote it much at all. It was just like everyone that first signed up brought a friend, and then it was like full, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Um but I would love to do it again, and I just, yeah, have to do it in a different way, I think. But
yeah,
I mean, from the time I was in Florida, like I was doing full moon priestessing every month for like the better part of 7 years. So
right,
being
right.
out in the public was a huge part of the work that I did, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You have a
And
big following.
I love that service of like interaction with others and priestessing for folks,
Mhm.
Um yeah, I don't know. I will keep you in the mix for sure, and I'm gonna hold space for that to open. And I just feel like it's sort of a wonky time for in-person um group, you know, sessions
Right.
and work. It's kind of a weird planetary time. But I before we go anywhere, I really want to say this before we get out of time. Um, we're not in the age of Aquarius,
Okay.
and we're nowhere near the age of Aquarius, and it's not going to be anywhere near us for like 750 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big bomb, I know, but it's
Yeah.
important because there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's because we're not in the age of Aquarius. We're still in the age of Pisces, and will be for another 700, 750 years."
So, because I never really put in it to being in the age of Aquarius, I put it into Pluto's return of
And we are
everything
in
being
Pluto's
wonky.
return. Yeah.
Right. And that's what is bringing all this crap to the surface and everything happening. And it is a really interesting time planetary wise. It just, you can't, you just got to understand that some of the things that you're feeling and going through is because of that, because of the planets and that energy. Not necessarily take it on as a personal thing, but know how to maneuver through these times. There was something I was going to ask you. What was it? Oh, tonight here, I don't know if it's different for you, is this super blue moon in
Mhm.
Pisces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that,
Super blue
is that,
moon. Um yeah, I mean, I've actually been disconnecting from watching the sky because I've been not on social media, and I've not been like paying attention to a lot of stuff. Like sometimes I just have to kind of hermit, and
don't we all?
being seriously, and I know that there is a blue moon. I don't even know what it's in. Honestly, I'm like that disconnected right now because I was so inundated with, I'm also an empath. I was so inundated with the Maui experience with all the Maui fires
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all the whatever that's going on there, that I've just been disconnecting and unplugging and really insulating myself because, yeah, it's been almost leveling because I am on an island. I mean, I can see Maui from the west side here. Like I can look and see Maui. So,
yeah.
I've just been in self-protection mode in a lot of ways, and it is a super blue moon, but I can't even tell you what it's in. Like
Well, tropical astrology, it's Pisces.
yeah.
So I don't know if that's true or not. Yeah, the Maui thing is it's heartbreaking. It really is. Along with so many other of these occurrences that are happening in this world and our country. But those of us see what is truth and what's happening and what's unfolding. And
Yeah.
I'm not in fear, but I'm with you. I do that, tuck myself away kind of thing, because I do in-person events. I usually do at least 2 a month. I'm on the road, and I kind of come back and I block my calendar. I don't want to do
Yeah.
anything for at least a day or two, just so I can recharge my battery. I keep really strong boundaries with clients. Even I just need to stay within myself to protect myself from the energies. And I always I lecture a lot at these events, and I talk about self-care being soul care, and that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think that I truly do walk the walk that I talk, because I can't keep going and not recharge and protect myself and be able to do the work I do, because I
Well,
would just, yeah,
yeah. You can't drink from an empty well,
that's right. That's
and
right.
you can't give from an empty well. So in order for folks like us who are mystical people who are receiving information from various realms, it takes a lot of energy. And I do
Sure.
ritual for folks. I do Reiki, but the distance Reiki that I do is sort of like I do like a cycle, and I have like an intention that the client wants, and then it's almost like a channeled message for each of the Reiki sessions that I do for them. And it's sort of like angelic energy comes through, elemental energy comes through, guides come through. So it's like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And um I have to like recharge after that. And sometimes that means like I'm not paying attention to the sky, I'm not paying attention to my cards, I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just in my little space doing art with my plants, with my cats, going to the, sea cliffs,
Yeah.
and you know, I have to be careful.
Yeah, when Tiffany, I had been a guest on another show that Tiffany produces, and after the show, she said that I was a natural, that I needed to have my own show, and she was the third person that had told me that I really should have a podcast. And it took me a while. I said, okay, but I'll let you know when, because to commit to do a weekly show was like,
Yeah.
well, but I also can say I'm not going to do a show next week, and I realize that, so it works. But I am doing a show next week. So when I said, but, I can just say no, I need a break. I got to do that, and I did that at the end of July, because I went to New Jersey for 2 weeks with my grandkids, because both of their birthdays are in July, and I just spent time with my family. And it was the first time that I did that. I even blocked out, like I didn't do any readings or I didn't have any counseling clients, because my granddaughter, usually when I walk through the door, she'll say, Mima, do you have clients? Because I'll lock myself away in the bedroom, and
Yeah.
she does not want that. So I
She calls
gave
you
them,
Mima.
yeah,
Oh,
on the
I
Mima.
love that. I have a friend who calls me Mima. She's
Oh,
from
that's
Cuba. She's from Cuba. I don't know. It's just like her little nickname for me, but I love that Mima. It's
yeah,
such a
that's a
sweet
southern.
energy.
Yeah, it's a southern grandmother. And because I lived in Florida and then South Carolina, when when Ivy was born, they were like, well, what do you want her to call you? And her other grandmother is Grandma, which I didn't really want anyway. And my mother always called me, because my name is Mary Catherine, she used to call me Mamie Kate because she had an Aunt Mame. So I said, well, I said either Mamie or Mima. So my son and my daughter-in-law both agreed Mima. So that's how it happened. But yeah, I'm the Mima. And I had to explain to my grandson that I am your grandmother. No, you're Mima.
Yeah. It has like its own vibration.
Yeah. So it's fun. I love having them. It's a wonderful thing. Wonderful thing.
I'm so glad you're doing your podcast. I love doing my podcast, but it was like 2.5 years and then I felt really done.
Yeah.
So it just, ride the wave, enjoy it. And
yeah, I'm hoping to get a webinar going, which, I've been kind of guided, and I want to do a healthy happy hour, which is not necessarily all going to be about nutrition, but it's going to be about all the things that we can look at, and I'll, have a little topic each week, talk a half hour, and then I want to have it to be able to open discussion group. So yeah, it kind of I was guided that way. I was going through old emails, and I had written this little guide of what to do to help yourself and get yourself on track. And even though it was really for weight loss, when I opened it up and I was looking at it, it was more of the spiritual side of the things that we need to do to heal ourselves and heal our bodies. So I was like, all right, this needs to be rewritten. So I'm rewriting it. And then I'm like, this really needs to be a webinar or something like that. So when I finish rewriting it, I'll have the topics and know how many weeks I'm going to run it. But yeah, that's the thing. And I'm like, oh, I'm taking something on, but I can do it.
It sounds fun.
Yeah. I gotta do more. Like you were always like doing all kinds of stuff, and so many other people are, and I kind of stayed in my false comfort zone, as I like to call it. I wouldn't even speak in public. And then I started speaking in public probably about 4 years ago. And wow, I mean, it was the very first lecture I did. I had a woman come up from the front row, and after I was done, and she said, do you do this all the time? Because you are unbelievable. And and I'm thinking, well, actually not. But the whole first row, by the time I got back to my table, Navi, my sheet was filled. Everybody wanted a reading. It was all these people. And I go back to that event, twice a year, and people come just to see me again. So I'm like, what the heck was I so afraid of, and staying away from this, because it really works. So Robin says we need to send love and light to all of Hawaii. That's true. We need to send love and light to everyone in the world. And Ruth says, fantastic show, ladies. Thank you very much. And Robert has subscribed to your site. So there you go.
Oh, what site? To my link tree?
I guess so. Yeah, because that's what I
didn't even know I had a subscription.
Robin says, wonderful show. Whatever you gave us, I'm sure Tiffany posted. So I wasn't really keeping up. I wasn't really keeping up with the chat real well, because I get so engrossed in what you were saying.
I can't even see it.
Yeah.
I can't see the chat.
I'm repeating and trying to give you everything, but everyone loved you, of course.
Thank you.
I'm so happy.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime you want to come back, if you have something going on, please do, because you're just a wealth of knowledge. I find you amazing. And
thank you, Mary.
Elizabeth Starr says, a wandering witch link.
Oh,
that's That's Naviae, a wandering witch. And boy, has she wandered throughout the lands.
Still wandering.
You've done great travels. I'm so happy that you are happy in Hawaii. You really seem like you are, with all your kitties.
I love my kitties.
And your man.
He's an amazing.
Many blessings.
Many blessings.
Thank you so much. You take care.
Much love and aloha. Bye, everybody.
Aloha. Bye.